Who is ready for a controversial Doctor Who Series 12 episode ranking? Woo! Well, it's not that controversial. I found Series 12 a pretty solid season in my opinion, much better than the last, but I wouldn't say it's one of the best. It's up there though. So there are 10 episodes to rank. I've seen them all, so let's get started. So at number 10 we do have Praxis, which I thought was a very poor story in my opinion. It's just a bit bad really. I mean, there were concepts that I liked, like you know, what connects in these things, but I think the message of just being like oh, it's the environment was a little bit, you know, it let it down a bit. I did prefer this message to Orphan 55, but I found Orphan 55 to be a much stronger episode. But you know, that some of the characters weren't very investable. It was a bit of a letdown really. I didn't really find any connection in this episode whatsoever, so that's why it's at number 10. At number 9 we have Can You Hear Me? Which is an interesting one, because I was going into this one with really high expectations. I remember on the day I was really hyped, you know, looking forward to it and everything, and it was just a little bit underwhelming. I really liked Zelen as a character, but that was about it. Oh, and I guess I liked Yaz's storyline, and Ryan going, "I got chips though," but apart from that, it was very mediocre. I didn't understand the thing of Aleppo at all really, and it's just sort of there. So number 8, Spyfall Part 1, which I hope isn't too controversial. Looking back on it, at the time it was a really good, strong episode, but it's just become a little bit weaker as the series goes on. There's nothing particularly wrong with it. It just sets up, you know, the Master and Lenny Henry's character, and you know, there are stronger episodes in the bag. So, you know, but it was lovely to see a fresh new story after the underwhelming Series 11. Moving swiftly on to number 7 now, we have Fugitive of the Jadoon. So this one might be a little controversial, but let me explain why. I think this episode tried to pack in a lot within a short space of time, and it was a little bit overwhelming. I mean, we had the Roof Doctor, which was just a bit whoa. Captain Jack coming back was a little bit just random in my opinion, but I mean, it was good. But I just felt like with all this action going on with the Jadoon, that character whose name I can't remember, that sort of accidentally shot herself, Gat, yeah, I think it's Gat. I tried to invest in her, but I couldn't because of the Roof Doctor. I think that was just trying to pack a lot in, and it kind of took away from the enjoyment of the story. But number 6 we have Orphan 55, which may be like, whoa, why is it so high? I surprisingly thoroughly enjoyed this story, and I really did. I liked the idea of you know, being at Earth and stuff. I actually really liked the side characters and Benny and all that jazz. The only thing that lets it down for me is the silly message at the end, where the Doctor basically turns to the camera and says, "Pollution is bad." I don't even know what the message was, but I just remember it being really awful and very politically correct again, and I don't know, but the story itself was very good and I really enjoyed it, and it's a guilty pleasure, I suppose. At number 5 we have The Haunting of Villa Diodati. It's quite a mouthful, isn't it? I actually watched this one a couple of days late because I was in America whilst this aired, and so I was watching it on a small phone, and I couldn't really, you know, I couldn't take in too much on such a small phone, but I rewatched it and it was a great episode. I really enjoyed it. I love sort of historical-esque episodes of historical figures and stuff, and I think the Sideman was great in it, you know, brutal, and I did think the speech by the Doctor at the end dragged out a little bit, and it was a little bit just like, come on Jodie, because I think Jodie in this series is still being a little bit cringy, to be honest, and it's just awkward, to be honest. But I found it to be a very enjoyable episode. I like the companions in this, and the concepts were really good, and so not too much criticism. At number 4, now we're getting close, is Spyfall Part 2. I really enjoyed this. This has one of the best scenes in the series for me, where the Master comes into the big hall, as you can see in that little photo down here, and just goes crazy. You know, he starts zapping people. It's one of the best scenes. It says kneel to the Doctor. That might be my top, 10 scenes of the Jodie Whittaker era, if not top 5. Yeah, probably, maybe even top 3. I love this episode so much. I think the companions really, start to develop in this. And the one thing that I would say is, the Ada Lovelace and the other character, who I can't remember, needs to start, it was a little bit weak for me because they were underdeveloped in my opinion. But yeah, on reflection, I thoroughly enjoyed it, and that ending, the ending with Gallifrey, I think that took us all by surprise, to be honest, and obviously this was developed later in the finale. So yeah, lovely. So we have got 3 episodes left, as you can tell. You can probably tell what 2 of them are. Well, you can probably tell what all of them are. But at number 3, we have Nicola Tesla's Night of Terror. Oh, this was probably the best episode, like in the filler. I guess you could call it a filler episode. Looking back on it, I realised at the time it wasn't. At the time, it was just a very average episode. But then later, when all these other episodes started coming out, I realised how good it actually was. I actually watched this twice within 24 hours, which was a bit weird for me, really, because I never really do that. And I really like it for some reason, but at the time I wasn't feeling it. I must have given it like a 7 or a 6 point, I don't remember. But it's number 3. It's just a solid episode. I love the villain, and I love Jodie. Well, I don't love Jodie. I like the companions, I suppose, and the actor who played Nikola Tesla. Whew, sweet. At number 2, we have Ascension of the Cybermen, which I thought was an awesome, phenomenal episode. It's, it was just a bit like a space opera, really. It was really my sort of finale, I suppose. The Cybermen were awesome in it. I loved the new designs. Graham was Graham, and Ryan was Ryan, and Yaz was, the side cast as well, probably the best side cast that have been there in a while. I invested in the characters, and I liked the plot with Brendan as well, even though if it doesn't really make sense, kind of. But I found this episode to be thoroughly enjoyable, and I don't know what else to say. It was just quite cool, and the cliffhanger at the end was, I predicted the Master coming back, but I think everything else was rather solid. So obviously, as you can tell, at number 1, could be controversial. I'm not sure. It's been less than 24 hours to digest this, and I'm still kind of digesting this as we speak. The Timeless Children, I'm pretty sure I loved this episode. And just to clarify, everything from about 5th place on this ranking down is just amazing for me. Definitely top 5 Jodie. But The Timeless Children was it was great. I loved the Master. He outshone the Doctor so much, and I loved him, really. So that's the Master. The Doctor, I thought, was very strong in it for once. The companions were cool, the side cast, everything about it, and this obviously the Timeless Child is the Doctor. I am fine with this, as long as William Hartnell still stays the first Doctor, and everything's tight in its place. For canon wise, and this opens up so many more questions that we may have, but I feel like that's what Doctor Who's all about. I loved it. Timeless Children, definitely the best episode in a long time. Whew, that's enough of me waffling, I think. So thank you very much for watching this ranking video. Please be sure to leave your ranking in the comments below, as I'd love to see what you guys think. So please leave a comment, like, to subscribe, etc, etc. Thank you very much for watching, and I will see you in the next video, whenever that may be. Bye!